Alright, ladies and gents, this is very professionally made. You're gonna love this shit, okay? So, let me show you something. I'm in the dark right now, because why not? I'm too lazy to turn on my lights. Actually, this is like one button away, but okay. Let's say you have learned all five major positions, major and minor and pentatonic positions, okay? And A minor is, I mean, obviously, if you know all A minor ones, you know F and all of the other ones as well. But let's just say you're at a stage, which I am at right now, and I want to kind of like target notes because that's when things make a little bit more sense. And I think this video here, which is made by Backing Track Center, by the way, plays a very simple chord progression. I'm going to make it easier. I'm going to leave the 7 chords out, but initially what you have is A minor to D minor to F and then to E, right? The pentatonic scale is laid out here as well. So if you go and look at the bottom numbers, we're going to start out at 5, which is usually position 1 that you learned with A minor, which is... That is the first position. My cat is kind of like... Oh, you want to go in there? I get it. Okay, there you go. Yes. So, if you know all of the 5 positions, you know, position 5. And then you go over here. Okay, I messed that up. Then we have the next one. And so on and so forth. But the thing is, when you run that pentatonic, when you run that backing track in A minor, G minor, F sharp minor, whatever minor or major you want, like if you memorize them, you're just noodling around. And I used to noodle around a lot of times, and I still do. I'm just now getting back into guitar again, so I kind of want to break out of that a little bit because it just doesn't sound nice when you play. So this backing track actually is really good because it shows you what notes are played. And technically later on, if you're more skilled in the future, you kind of know either when you're in a band or when you're jamming with somebody, you can hear by ear what notes are being played, which is not, you don't need perfect pitch. I think, what is it called? Is it natural pitch or something? It's like something similar to it, which you will eventually gain the more music you play. You will just like go like, okay, that's A, and that kind of makes sense, and you know, no, yeah, you know, like that. And then later on, you will kind of know what they played, or you just basically ask them, what are you playing? What chords are we playing here tonight, boys and girls, maybe? But yeah, anyways. So what I want you to know is the first thing, if you know all 5 major and minor pentatonic positions, which is good, it's a nice start, it's a good start. Actually, it's a great start. Then know where your root notes are. Okay, so let's start off with the 5th position, which you can see, let's see, where do you see it here? On the 3rd fret, you can see it right under me here, which is right there. So the beautiful part about this video is as well that it shows you all of the root notes. So when you start, the 5th fret on the E string is obviously the A, so that's a root. There's a root note. And then of course the high E string on the 5th. It's going to be a root note as well. So when it starts playing in A minor, you can start dwindling around that root note. So let's just start off. What is really usually sounds good with the root note of A, you can go with E as well. So you could technically bend into it. So you're bending up to the E, which is, so here's the root note. We're talking about the first position. Now, I know you can't see much, but I just want you to realize. So we're going to start off with the first, going to start off with the position 1 that everybody usually learns when they start. And it's also always an A minor. That's why I'm making this video in A minor. So if you bend into it, you're bending into the E, and then you go start, you know, your phrasing or whatever you do on that A root note. So then you can start. So let's just... You hear? That makes sense. And now we've challenged with the next thing. Now, the way I did it, to find all of the D's on my string, I learned all of the string notes on the 5th and Wait, on the E string and on the A string. Easier. And you can build towards that. So on my E string, I know that there's one over here. But that's way too far if I'm playing in the first position. But don't worry, we just stay with the first position for now. Really important. Let's not get all over the place yet, okay? So I know that there's one here, which is the 5th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th fret. That's a D, but that's kind of far away. Then let's see where else. On the A string though, we have one right here, which is on the A string on the 5th fret. Now you can just hear it, right? And if you learn this thing that I learned, that you can like jump to the G string and just like move 2 frets up and 2 frets down, then you also have another D, which fits another D fits right into our position 1. So we start off with, that's a D string. That's great. That's great news. We can work with that as well. If you want to find it, you can find it on the E string again. So you can go 3 frets down and then 2 frets up, and then you find another one. But if you know the E string, you also know the high E string. So you know that this one is very well, which kind of moves into the second position. So if you want to play, like, you start off with the A, and then it goes to the D minor. All you have to do is now play around with this, still in the same first and second position. Just play around that D. Sorry. And we can already start phrasing, and it's super easy if you know all of the positions, and if you know where the D is. Come on, man. If you know where the A is, and we'll play around it a little bit more. So let's start with the A minor. A minor. It's probably A minor. Okay, so let's make this a little louder. Maybe I think the backing track is a little bit quiet, but that's fine. It might not be synchronized fully, but it doesn't matter. You just need to get the gist of it. You can also start with the second position up here. You know? You go back down. Wait, let me actually, it has to be a little bit louder in my ears, otherwise I don't hear well. So, easy, first position. A, root. Back to the A. You don't have to do much, just do that, just find the root notes. Now the F is a difficult one, for me at least it was. So we have to find an F within all of this. So the way you can do it is you start off with the low E with the F. Use that two frets down to 2 frets down the fret and 2 frets down. Then we have the D string. So that's gonna be an F. And to find that, we're gonna go 3 frets down and then 2 frets up. And within the first position, ladies and gents, which is the B string on the 6th fret, we have an F. Who would have thought? So, it's all in that box. Now, you have to understand here that we're not doing the pentatonic, so to speak, anymore. When we're in the first position, going to the F on the B string on the 6th fret, because that is not our... It's not that anymore. Suddenly, we are going to expand the first position into something different. There is the F. We're transforming that first box of pentatonics. We're just adding the F when the F is played. That's it. Nothing more. Now, if you know where the F is on the A string, so I know that we have C on the 3rd, D on the 5th, and then we have the E on the 7th. So on the 8th, it's going to be another F. We can use that if we go with that F, 2 frets down, 2 frets up. Now this is an F as well, which blends into the second position. So if we technically wanted to, we could do... This is the second position. we can still blend in these juicy pentatonic links. We just added an F to the pentatonic scale. I think later on, the more you add, you can get like to the natural minor and all of that technical stuff, which I have not much knowledge about yet. But by the way, the last video where I crashed out, it was kind of like a joke video, right? I mean, I do kind of course, want to learn and always expand my horizon, but it's interesting. So let's start playing. We have the F now. We have added the F. Now, this is going to be slow at first, but later on, the more you know about the fretboard, it is much easier because these chord progressions, even if this would be like an E minor track or whatever minor track, all of these things, they kind of apply to all of it. You know, if you have a 1-4-5 kind of situation or whatever. So yeah, it kind of applies. But let's stick with A minor because that's what we all start off with. I mean, that's how I start off with it. That's why I stick to it as well. So let's start off with the A. Stick to the A. Go to the D. Second position. Now the F. Okay, so we have the E as well. The E is in there too. If we know the A string well, then we know that this is an E. 2 frets down, 2 frets up. So from the F, if we have the E, we can basically get our horizon out, then add another note if we feel funky, and that's going to be the last note for this one, which is going to be the B when the E is played, because the B, as far as I believe, is the diatonic something of E. So every time that is being played, the D, you can add that B to it as well. I just asked ChatGPT, and he said, yeah, it makes sense, you can do that, and so that's why I do it. Just use your ear. I remember when I played this. So the A, then we have the F. You hear I had the B in it, so you can also like bend up to it. Could technically do that, right? So it does make sense. Yeah, and you can build on that, you know, so just try to target the notes. You don't have to get into triads. You don't have to get into the cage system. Now, if you know all of that stuff, that's good for you. It's all good for you. But I think when you get out of these learning the pentatonic positions, which is like beginner to intermediate, once you get, I mean, judging by music school, not that I went to one, but I know that this is like how they kind of grade it. It's like still beginner, a little bit intermediate, maybe just like the first level of intermediate or something. But, yeah. Start off with the root notes on A when A plays. Then it goes to the D. You can actually add that F here in there as well. Back to the A, to the D, back to the A, so to speak. And then the, I don't know what it was, like the F. No, you can play around with it, you know. That's gonna be a little bit more la 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 la. Back to the pentatonic, I guess. Again, I'm no pro. I don't know very much about music theory. I'm just getting into it, but it just makes sense from a stage when you've learned the pentatonic shapes to get in there. You can later on mix a little minor with major as well. You can use the second position of the A minor scale and mix it with the first position. Then you get like a major minor touch to it. But yeah. That's all I'm gonna talk about in this video. Target the notes properly and start off slow. Don't try to, just because you know, Just because you know all that. You don't have to do that when you play a solo, because usually they need to have short, sometimes longer phrases. Stay on the same note, man. You don't need to go all crazy. Play chill. Like, I'm not a guitar teacher. I don't know anything about teaching. A matter of fact, I don't know much about playing. But my grandfather did, and he still does. He's still kicking, still alive and kicking. He used to be a pretty big German, well, he's an Englishman, but he used to be a German musician here in Hamburg and played in clubs, bars. He had albums. He actually had a world tour. He played in Italy and stuff like that. You don't have to go all crazy. Try to learn this first. You don't have to be theory heavy. You don't have to know much about theory to just get this thing going. Try to work with it. It works. Trust me.